9A from old business, and I would make that motion.
Can we get it?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Alderwoman Tice.
Oh, so I did see the note from Bola today. Presumably, we will have a chance to look at this letter again, and they will accept the majority of the comments that we have sent them. Is that your understanding?
Yes, they have done their review of what we've sent back to them, and now staff needs to have a chance to look at it before we respond to them and bring it back to the board.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other changes to the agenda? Any objection to approving the same as amended by acclamation? Seeing none, it'll be so approved. Thank you. Brings us down to announcements, appointments, proclamations, and recognitions. We have two on tonight's agenda. Both are with the police department. First up, Chief, you want to come on down, please?
Thank you. Good evening. Kind of a sad day the last few days in the police department as we see the exit of Jim McIntyre leaving our department. Just on a personal note, Jim was one of the finest policemen I've worked with, and I don't say that lightly, and the best administrator I've ever worked with. So he made my job here easy over the last 5.5 years, and I'd like to publicly thank him for that. Jim McIntyre, you want to step up here, Jim? Jim McIntyre graduated from St. Charles County Law Enforcement Training Center on April 10, 1990. He began his career with the Rock Hill PD on April 23, 1990. On September 23, 91, he began his career with the City of Brentwood Police Department. In July of 1995, Jim was transferred to the Criminal Investigations Bureau and worked there as a detective until May of 1997, where he was transferred to the Bicycle Unit. Jim McIntyre continued to serve as a bicycle patrol officer until 2000, when he was transferred back to uniform patrol. In 2004, he was transferred to the Criminal Investigations Bureau as the department's school resource officer, DARE officer, and juvenile detective. Jim served in this capacity until September of 2006, when he was promoted to sergeant and selected to supervise a newly formed Mobile Reserve Traffic Enforcement Unit. In 2009, Sergeant McIntyre was reassigned to the supervisor of the Criminal Investigations Bureau. In 2014, Sergeant McIntyre was promoted to major and assigned to the Assistant Chief Field Operations Commander position. It was in this role that Major McIntyre introduced the CALIA accreditation process to the Brentwood Police Department and served as our CALIA accreditation manager from 2016 and 17. From May of 2017 to March of 18, Major McIntyre served as the interim chief of police here in Brentwood. In 18, Jim was reassigned as the commander of Bureau of Administration. Major McIntyre is a graduate of the 262nd session of the FBI National Academy, and he holds a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology. He is married to his wife of 33 years, Casey, and they have 3 grown children. After taking a couple weeks off, Jim has accepted a position with the City of Brentwood Finance Department, where he will begin the next chapter of his life. Congratulations, brother.
You know, it's not every day that we get to recognize, you can have a seat, you know, he's not worth it. You know, trust me. No, I'm kidding. It's not every day that you get to recognize and honor someone who has served the city for 3 decades like Jim has. And I first met him probably when I became an alderman in 2016. And I've had a number of years and a lot of opportunities to observe Jim, or Major, and how he handled himself. You know, I'm a firm believer that a police department in particular, and organizations in general, are a product or reflection of their upper management. That is, it's a top-down approach. If you have a police department that is a very good police department, it's a result of the top level, because that's where it starts. And our police department is who they are, and they have the reputation that they do because of people like Major Jim McIntyre. And you know, I I told we have 3 people from the Coffee with the Mayor in attendance tonight, and I told them Thursday that Jim always amazed me or impressed me as being a consummate professional. He was a selfless person who set a tremendous example for others. And I would suggest that to our young officers that if you follow his lead, when you're faced with decisions, if you go through that process and think, what would Jim do? What would Major McIntyre do? Then I think, what WWJD? I think our young officers will also have a very successful professional police career. So, Jim, on behalf of the city, whereas the men and women who devote their time and energy as professional law enforcement officers have assumed responsibilities essential for the safety of their fellow citizens, and whereas after serving over 32 years with the city of Brentwood, Major Jim McIntyre has announced his retirement from the Brentwood Police Department, and whereas his departure marks an end to more than 33 years in law enforcement, and whereas Major McIntyre graduated from the St. Charles County Law Enforcement Training Center on April 10th, 1990, and began his career as a police officer with the Rock Hill Police Department on April 23rd, 1990, and whereas on September 23rd, 1991, Major McIntyre began his career with the City of Brentwood Police Department, where during his more than 32 years, he held various positions, including those of dare officer, bicycle patrolman, sergeant. He was assigned to the Criminal Investigations Bureau and served as the interim chief of police. And whereas Major McIntyre was instrumental in implementing the CALEA program with the Brentwood Police Department, and whereas Major McIntyre is a graduate of the 262nd session of the FBI National Academy and holds a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, and whereas on behalf of the entire Brentwood community, the City of Brentwood would like to congratulate Major McIntyre on an outstanding career and wish him and his family all the best as he begins the next chapter of his life. Now therefore, I, David Dimmitt, Mayor of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, do hereby congratulate and recognize Major James McIntyre for his professionalism, exceptional service, distinguished career and commitment to public safety and protection, and service to the residents and businesses of the City of Warmth, Brentwood, Missouri, as a member of the Brentwood Police Department, presented this second day of October, 2023.
While Jim's up there shaking hands, I'd just like to recognize his family is behind us. Rachel, his daughter, and Casey, his wife. Thank you for sharing Jim with us for many years. Out with the old, Jim, and in with the new.
Could take about 30 seconds.
Sorry about that. So as Jim exited, we did a promotion process to the rank of major. Many of you probably recognize Jason Simpson standing next to me. He's been with Brentwood for quite a period of time. I'm going to read a quick bio on Jason. Jace began his career in law enforcement in 1997 after graduating from the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Academy in the city. After graduation, he was assigned to the North Patrol Division in District 7 for 3 years. He's been a member with our department in Brentwood since 2000 and has served in several capacities, including patrol officer for 3 years, detective for 6 years, where he's also a firearms instructor, and he was detached to the DEA task force for 5 years. He was promoted to sergeant in 2015 and served as our agency's Detective Bureau commander for the last 8 years. In January of 2023, Jason Simpson was promoted to the rank of lieutenant and served as the acting commander of the Community Policing Unit since early August. Since 2003, Jason has been a part of the Greater St. Louis Major Case Squad, where he held a supervisory position for several years. He still serves as this department's liaison with the Major Case Squad, introducing new Brentwood investigators, coordinating staffing for call-outs and training. Major Simpson was instrumental in organizing and directing the 2021 homicide investigation here in Brentwood, along with the Major Case Squad. In March of 2023, Major Simpson graduated with the first cohort of students from the Police Leadership and Command Prep Academy in St. Charles, Missouri. This well-earned promotion to the rank of major comes after 26 years of law enforcement, 23 of those years having been spent as an asset with the Brentwood Police Department, as a regional investigator with the Major K Squad, and as a task force officer with DEA. Jason is the proud daughter of Claire, son Cole, and loving husband of wife Amy. Congratulations to Major Jason Simpson.
All right, we move down to the next item, which is citizen comments. Now is the time, if anybody in the public wishes to address the board, just come to the podium, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 3 minutes.
My name is Christine Marshall. My husband, John Marshall, and I live at 56 Whitehall Court. We are here to inform the mayor and the city council of our experience in a virtual meeting with the Architectural Review Board on Thursday, September 21st, regarding our new resident construction at 62 Whitehall Court, next door to our home. Our street has 29 homes, with all but one home being a single story. The new construction is 2 stories and will be black brick on 3 sides. This was an online meeting conference with Zoom with no option to attend in person. We immediately encountered difficulties in simply joining the webinar, which was already in session when we ultimately succeeded in connecting. When I asked Whitney Kelly the reason for this Zoom meeting versus in person, she indicated that this was the preference of the architects. Several neighbors came to our home for the meeting because they were totally unfamiliar with Zoom and wanted to be a part of the meeting. When they observed the technical complications that we were experiencing, they remained silent during the meeting. There was no visual representation of any of the participants attending this meeting on Zoom except for the architects, Whitney Kelly, and facilitator whose identity was never clarified. We did not know the number of residents on Whitehall Court who were on Zoom or teleconferencing. The architect for this proposed construction on 62 Whitehall repeatedly spoke, but was also not clearly identified. Efforts to unmute proved continually difficult. No assistance or guidelines were provided to assist participants who wanted to question or state their views. Attempts to use the raised hand button proved equally unsuccessful. We tried repeatedly to engage in discussion without being acknowledged or heard. This dysfunctional operation clearly silenced residents and undermined the open democratic process that should have been guaranteed by the elected officials. The entire way in which this meeting was conducted made many residents feel that this proposal was ramrodded for approval without a fair, impartial meeting or hearing. We consider the meeting to be one of the worst examples of local government acting in a biased, arbitrary manner with no regard for ordinary citizens. The importance of this meeting, the demolition and construction of a new residence, dramatically impacts all existing homes and residents on this street. While this meeting focused on the most fundamental concern of any resident, namely the quality and protection of home and neighborhood, no provision was made by any city officials to make this an open, easily accessible forum for their voices to be heard. The method and facilitating of this meeting contributes to a growing cynicism that the average citizen voter is too often dismissed or forgotten. We prepared a very clear response to this proposal through emails to Whitney Kelly several days prior to the meeting. When the response was projected on Zoom, none of the architects noted any salient points that we included and we presented. We considered both the architectural design as well as the massive size of this residence of this, I'm sorry, we consider the architectural design as well as the massive size to be very relevant in contrast to the adjoining homes throughout the street. No one, however, questioned or commented on the glaring departure. We surmised that the aesthetics and the continuity of homes were the primary purview, the pivotal consideration of the Architectural Review Board. When these points were not factored into their final decision, we concluded that their approval was totally arbitrary and subjective. The unprofessional and undemocratic nature of this meeting was a miscarriage of good government, with local officials failing to ensure that all citizens have their basic rights protected, their voices heard. If Zoom were the choice of the architects, the hybrid option should have been provided. The stakes were extraordinarily high for homeowners who wanted to engage in this conversation, but were effectively silenced by both the technical problems as well as the facilitators and architects who did not acknowledge the complications of the audience. Considering these issues, they should have postponed the final vote. This is a very important proposal with both demolition and new construction, not simply an addition. Residents of this street will be personally, profoundly, and permanently affected by the failures of this meeting and the failures of the Brentwood city officials. This meeting effectively silenced most of the residents on Whitehall and betrayed their belief in an impartial, open exchange of views. Since the Zoom meeting, several neighbors have called us to express their disbelief and anger at the method and tenor of the meeting. We realize the full implications of the vote among the architects. They realize the full implications of the vote among the architects who wielded an enormous amount of power in relative isolation with no accountability to the affected parties. The loss of credibility of city officials is very real on Whitehall Court. When the trust of the political process is eroded, elected officials compromise their integrity as well as the cohesiveness and harmony of their community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and everyone here. I'm John Marshall, and I'm a graduate of St. Louis University School of Law. The mayor's law partner, Gary Sewell, is a classmate of mine. And the day after this submission was due by the people proposing, next door proposing the new construction, I came over here, went to development and planning, and looked at what was submitted. There was nothing showing a submission for their proposal and then our house to the right or to the west and Cynthia's house to the east side to the left. And I asked about, for the Architectural Review Board when we got there, what about a to-scale drawing showing the massive size of this place next to our homes, which are almost all one-story homes. And that's why we bought on this street. And I was told the city of Brentwood does not require to-scale drawings. Other cities do, we don't. But this is, I mean, this is a perfect example where the city, somebody could put up an ordinance, propose that, and have that. I mean, that really should have been done there. And when I was there on August 22nd, there was nothing in there to, as I say, there was a little bit of the edge of our garage and a little bit to the edge of the neighbor to the east, their garage, or to the side of their building. But nothing to scale, nothing like that at all. And that was simply brushed aside. And when I found out that they wanted to use black brick rather than hardy siding, and the lady who was the owner's wife, I believe, said, oh, I forgot to put that in there. that we want brick on the two sides and the full back. And one of the architects said in black, and she said yes. There was nothing, no discussion whatsoever to say, that this two-story black structure is going to be right in the middle of our neighborhood. We've got a beautiful neighborhood, and this is going to remind me of something that we don't even want to discuss today. And I'm not going to say, but it does not belong in the United States. And maybe it's fashionable or something like that. We used to go to the Heights on Dale Avenue. It's between Home Depot and Big Bend. And somebody painted, I believe it's an apartment building, all black a couple of years ago. And that is, to me, that just personally, subjectively, ugly, ugly, ugly. And I really don't want to see that next door. And I tried to get back on after I did my presentation. Chris did hers. And I use Zoom a lot. And I hit the raise hand, nothing happened. And I was cut out. But the thing I wanted to say, I mean, even though a motion had been made and they all three voted to approve the submission with the comments, there was nothing to get me back on there. And all I wanted to say, now it's probably out of order, is we really don't want to see a black building here. And I think that's just really going to be a monstrosity. So appreciate your hearing us.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public care to address the board?
I'm Heather Berrigan. I live at 1800 Brentwood Boulevard, and I'm coming with a clarification and potentially a proposal for an adjustment in the commercial zoning ordinances in the city. So I live in Brentwood Villas, and unfortunately, there's a commercial building in front of my apartment who has a dumpster in front of my apartment. And at 3:29 every evening, they come and empty it, and it wakes me up. And after 2 years, I've had it, and I've got 9 months left on my lease. So I've written an email to Meridian Waste. They said they'd forward to management. Who knows if I'll ever get a response. But I have a photograph from 329, and I have the aerial view if you'd like to see it. But I don't know if they're breaking an ordinance. I read, kind of I looked through the ordinances. There's comments that commercial buildings have to have their dumpsters emptied twice a week, but I couldn't find anything about time. But if it isn't, a lot of the commercial structures along Brentwood Boulevard, whether it's on my side or if maybe it's people who are bothered by it, by the Panera and kind of those dumpsters, depending on what time they get dumped, it's disturbing. It's not like kind of over by like Target where there's nothing else around. These are, right behind, residential facing areas. And it's, it really is, my family doesn't like to come visit from Kansas City, and it's really a very negative thing. So I don't know if it's already an ordinance, but I think with the way the city is set up, it would be a useful thing. Do you know?
Okay, well, first of all, this is a public comment. This is just an opportunity for you to speak. This isn't a back and forth conversation.
Okay.
But the 329, I'm going to break that rule here, but the 329, is it in the afternoon or is it in the morning that you're?
It's in the middle of the night.
329 in the
a.m.
morning, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Well-
Meridian Waste,
Yeah.
Winston, Missouri.
okay. Well, we will certainly, I'll tell you what, if you would give your name and contact information to Kelly over there, she's our assistant city clerk,
Yeah.
and she will look into it. That's our city attorney sitting next to her, and she'll look into that, and
Okay.
someone will be in touch with you to let
That'd
you
be
know.
very helpful. I appreciate it. And then I have just one more thing.
Sure.
The last couple months, the panhandling has gotten really bad, but it's gotten much more aggressive to the point I don't go to Target by myself. And it's not outside. I'm talking about, I go to Target, I'm in a baby aisle, and the panhandlers are coming inside and asking me for money in the aisle. And it happened at Bed Bath & Beyond before they closed, happened at Target a couple times. When he comes with me, it doesn't happen. Or if I have to go to Target myself, I drive out to the Kirkwood one. When we were getting gas on the run, there's now occasional guy on a bicycle who comes to each kind of gas station and asks for money. It's getting more aggressive, and I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else care to address the board? Okay. We normally don't give any response, but I feel compelled to respond to the marshals. As you know, I did talk to you I had a phone call, for a very long phone call with you too. Last week, I think it was. I can't remember when it was. But and I told you that I would look into this, and I did. I talked to our city administrator as well as our director of planning and development. And first of all, I agree with you in terms of the need to be meeting in person. So I said Architectural Review Board definitely needs to be meeting in person again. And if somebody wants to attend, as you said, hybrid, via Zoom, if one of the architects want to do it, that's fine. But we need to have it take place in these chambers like it used to be. And they were fine with that. And it turned out the reason they've been meeting by Zoom is because the software that they use, it's on their computers. We don't have that software on our computers. And the architects have found that that's very helpful to have that software because it allows them to make changes because what they would usually do is do it on paper, and then it prolongs the process because then those drawings have to be redone as opposed to doing it on the fly there on the computer. So the city is in the process of purchasing 4 licenses, I believe, for that software and have that installed on computers so that moving forward, those meetings will be, number one, will be here in the chambers, and number 2, the architects will then have that software, and the public will, as well as will our staff. Now, I know that doesn't address what happened to you beforehand, but I wanted to let you know, because you brought that to my attention, that there is going to be a change moving forward with the ARB meetings. Anybody else have any other comments? Okay. With that, then we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the mayor and alderman reports. First up is the mayor. I don't have any reports this meeting. Alderman Plufka.
No report.
Alderwoman Tice.
No report.
Alderwoman Sims.
We have the first of several special meetings upcoming on Ways and Means. First one is tomorrow night here at 5:30, where we'll be reviewing sections of the proposed 2024 budget. The topics we'll be taking up at that meeting are the police and fire department and general administration. And because we are having a special meeting on Tuesday, there is not a regular meeting first Thursday of the month, this coming Thursday.
Alderman Weggie.
Just a reminder, the National Night Out is October 10th, Tuesday, 6 to 9, I believe.
And if you want to host a party,
Send an email.
send an email, okay?
Somebody, I can't remember.
Do we have a list
But I did
yet
it.
of locations, Chief? Do you know off the top of your head? That's,
Yes, Solon.
okay. All right, so Sergeant Sullivan is putting together a list of people that are wanting to put together block parties for next Tuesday. If that is something that you're interested in hosting, please let Sergeant Sullivan know. And I'm assuming we'll put that out somewhere so people have access to that as well.
I hear a rumor Red is coming around to visit everybody. Is that?
Yes. Red will make a special appearance at your block party. Alderman Lockmuller.
No report.
Alderman Gould.
No report.
Alderwoman Harder.
No report.
And Alderman Erger. No report. Okay, that brings us down to the city administrator report. We have one item, and our city administrator is out of town today, so acting in her state is Director Eric Grunfelder.
Thank you. You're stuck with me tonight. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is, the city is presenting the 2024 annual budget for 8750 Manchester Road Community Improvement District. The city has no written comments, but we have to do this to comply with state statute, so we're presenting it to the board.
Okay, we have any questions about that budget? No action on part of the board.
That's needed.
Okay, and that gets us down to the consent agenda. We have 4 items under that. Are there any questions about any of those items or any requests to remove any of the items off the agenda? Alderwoman Harder.
I have a question.
Yes, if you could just press your button. There you go.
I have a question. I mean, I'm new to this and I
Yep.
just, okay. On the warrant list, I'm kind of just going through. You know, I play pickleball a couple of times, but I'm just wondering why there was $4,555 for pickleball nets.
You are looking at item B, and we have 2 warrant lists under that.
The mobile pickleball nets, and if I remember correctly, you could show up at the tennis courts and they bring out these little big bags and you just pull out the little nets and then you start playing. That was about a year ago, so I don't know if they got new ones, but that just seems a little excessive to me.
Sure. Well,
I
Eric
can
can
answer
answer
that.
that.
So when we first opened the pickleball courts, we did have just mobile's the wrong thing, just portable nets. To be honest, they weren't very well constructed. They're just easy
I
to
know we
move
had to put them
around.
together.
Yep, things like that. It also made it hard for people who wanted to use the courts anytime that staff wasn't there. So we had specific pickleball nights on Tuesday and Monday and Wednesday nights where staff would come out, set up the pickleball nets, people could play. We wanted to make sure that we are able to allow everyone to play. So what we did was we found these much sturdier on wheels pickleball nets that are also heavy enough where they won't be taken,
Okay.
we hope. So that is the
That
reason why we
explains.
did that. Yep.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions about any of the items on the warrant list? If not, can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 4-0.
All right, and because of the motion made earlier to remove Bill number 6475.1, we have no old business, and it gets us down to new business. We have 1 item, and that is resolution number 1466. Resolution approving a change order to the contract with Blocker Construction for additional work needed for the Brentwood Park Destination Playground project. Eric, are you handling that?
I am as well. So this is a change order for Blocker as part of the playground project. There are 5 separate change orders. Most of them are pretty small, things like the installation of electric handholds, which it's conduit to the pavilion so we can have electric and the cameras there. We did find some unforeseen concrete and rock debris when we're drilling piers for the overlook. The big thing, though, is the landscaping at the overlook. So when Brentwood Bound was first designed, it was designed, GRG Part A was designed prior to the destination playground. So once we approved the overlook, what was there, which was sod, was torn up with the installation of the overlook. And in addition, we weren't going to get sod to grow underneath or grass to grow underneath the overlook because of the sun, lack of sun, things like that. So we talked to SWT, we talked about what we might be able to do as far as a revised landscape plan. We did attach that to board docs this morning. The big thing is that we put pea gravel underneath the boardwalk so it'll alleviate any maintenance concerns. We also decided, if you know Ted, he can't design anything without thinking above and beyond. And so he talked about how we could activate that area because that's going to be an area where kids are going to want to hang out. It's another quiet space in the park. So he added the log seats. So it creates a kind of an area for people to sit and relax and talk, and as well as activating the hillside with the log steppers, which also helps with the erosion coming down the hill since we don't have any grass there anymore. So that is the big change. Altogether, I think it was a little bit over $90,000. It is still within our approved contingency budget. If this gets approved tonight, we'll still have $95,000 for the remaining part of the project. And again, knock on wood, hopefully there's not much else. We're nearing the end of the project, so.
Do we have any questions about this? Do we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion on the motion to approve resolution number 1466? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 8 to 0.
I'm sorry, did you call that out? I didn't
Yes.
approve. Okay, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Couldn't hear. No,
Yes.
you're good. And that brings us down to citizen comments. Once again, if anybody in the public cares to address the board, now is the time to do so. Again, we just ask that you come up to the podium, state your name, and you'll be given, and your address, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we will move on. We do have just a couple of items for closed session tonight. So I would like a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021, subsections 1, 2, and 3 of revised statutes of Missouri.
Mayor, excuse me?
Yes.
Can I ask that you add subsection 9
Subse-
also?
Okay, so it'd be 1, 2, subsections 1, 2, 3, and 9 of the revised statutes. Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie? Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 8 to 0.
Great, thank you. We'll meet.